The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to RISMedia's 5 Easy Steps to Creating a 2018 Business Plan that actually delivers results. My name is Cleve Gaddis. I'm coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. I am a master coach with Workman Success Systems. I'm also a team leader of one of the top 10 teams in the state of Georgia. So I do exactly what you do all day, every day. I get out there and convince sellers to sell and buyers to buy and try to move the business forward on a daily basis. Happy holidays to all of you, wherever you are and whatever holiday you celebrate. We wish you a happy holidays. I want to say thanks to begin with to RISMedia for putting on this webinar. Even when I'm not moderating or not on one of the webinars as a panelist, I try to listen to all of them. And when I miss them during the day, I go back and listen to them on YouTube, because they always put the videos out on YouTube a couple of days after the event, and I always get a ton of great information. So thanks to RISMedia for putting on these very informational and informative webinars. Also, thanks to PNC Bank for sponsoring this month's webinar. We are fortunate enough to have a guest, and not just a marketing person with PNC Bank or an administrative person from their corporate offices. We've got somebody on with us today who's actually in the trenches, writing loans, doing business on a daily basis. So I'm very glad for that, and I'll introduce Bryant in just a few minutes. I'm also very thankful for our panelists. We have two panelists. I've known each of them for 2 or 3 years, and it's amazing to me the amount of knowledge and the understanding they have of the real estate business. And I have personally watched each one of them be involved in a business that has grown significantly. I mean, really impressive growth results over the last 2 or 3 years. And so I think everyone who has taken the time to invest today to be on today's webinar will get a lot of good information from both Samantha and Mike, and I'll introduce them in just a little bit. Make sure you take good notes if you have somewhere to take some notes, because you're going to definitely have a few tips and tricks, things that you're going to want to apply in your business planning for 2018. And just one little thing can make all the difference in the world. I remember in 2011, when I was trying to make some real significant growth in my business, I picked up a couple of tips in late in the year prior to when I wanted to really start growing the business, and focused on, in my case, working with an inside sales associate, and it made a huge difference in my business over the next few years. If you want to ask questions, all of you have a control panel, or a tool panel, if you will, and you have a questions tab. If you have something you want me to ask of one of the panelists, or you want me to answer as the moderator, I'll be happy to do that. Simply go into the questions panel and type your question. If you have an administrative concern, you're having problems with audio or video or anything else, just type that into the panel as well. And RISMedia has people behind the scenes monitoring that, and they'll do everything they can to take care of you. At the end of the presentation, you will have the opportunity to go to a particular link and get a copy of today's presentation. We'll also have the opportunity for you to download some free gifts from our panelists, from Samantha, from Mike, also from Bryant with PNC. We've got some cool tools, some things that you can actually take and put to use as you're putting together your 2018 business plan. So make sure you stay on all the way through to the end. Let's go ahead and get started. Bryant Edelman, I welcome you to today's call. Good afternoon, Bryant.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm great. Now, Bryant, just so everybody understands, is a top producing mortgage loan officer with PNC Bank. He's been in the industry for 20 years, believe it or not, and is a member of PNC's Leaders Council and Leaders Club. He and his team work closely with agents, attorneys, and clients to ensure that each closing goes quickly and as efficiently as possible. And as I mentioned in my earlier introduction, I like the fact that Bryant is actually in the trenches writing loans on a daily basis, and I'm sure he's going to add some valuable information to today's webinar as a panelist. Bryant, you want to tell us just a little bit about PNC Bank and some of the tools you offer?
Sure, thank you. So PNC Bank and PNC Mortgage is more of a boutique mortgage side. It's a big bank, fifth largest bank, but the mortgage side is more boutique-y, which gives us the ability to give us the best customer service to the end customer. So we have some great tools that we offer the realtors as well as their clients to help them with planning to buy a home. One of the things that it brought up here is PNC Home Insight Planner, which later we'll get to a little more in depth. This planner allows the customer to find out exactly to the penny what they're looking to spend per month, also including their monthly expenses, all the way down to the cost of gas. So it's a great tool to have for the realtors to share, so on and so forth.
Is this something that anybody can access online?
Yes, they could. There is a link to it directly that they're allowed to go in and grab and play with and plug in numbers and give a great determination of what they could afford or what they're more importantly, what they're comfortable spending.
Cool, interesting, and I like the fact that you use the word boutique as you introduced PNC. I have never really even thought about it that way, but even though PNC is a very large bank, I know we have PNC branch locations right here in Metro Atlanta, but it sounds to me like you're saying you give service like you're a small local mortgage company, yet you're a big national mortgage company. Interesting. What do you think makes it that way? Is that something you guys do on purpose or just an accident?
No, I think it's 100% the way the companies develop their business plan, as far as the people that we hire are very good quality and know the business. So instead of having 15,000 loan officers like a bigger bank, we only have about 1,000 throughout the country. So it gives that boutique feel, and everybody's treated like they're the most important person.
Love it. You've got another slide here that talks about connecting with clients being easy. Talk about that. This looks like a great source for information about the market, things like that. Talk to us about what we're looking at.
So right here is a PNC Real Estate newsfeed, and what this does, it gives me the availability to go on social media and to promote what articles are out there that's prevalent to our business. So PNC publishes about 4 or 5 articles a day, and then myself will go in and share them on Facebook or Twitter, LinkedIn, which will give all our sphere of influence the articles to read and to educate them.
Interesting. Now, is this something that a real estate agent could go in and share your news feeds as well?
100%. If they're friends with me on Facebook or any loan officer in the country that uses and takes advantage of this platform, they could, of course, share it from the loan officer's newsfeed.
Interesting. So if you've got a local PNC person in your area or you happen to be friends with Bryant, make sure you go on and get access to that. Let's go ahead and move on. Our first panelist is Samantha Kenard, who is the office manager with the Christie Buck Real Estate Team, Infinity Real Estate Group in Houston, Texas. And she oversees every aspect of the team, including customer service and education. She's also a realtor and has been part of the team, part of the Christie Buck team for over 10 years. And I've known Samantha now for about 4 years, and it's amazing to watch her level of understanding of the business change over time, and to see the team that she and Christy were working on together when they were probably $250,000 in gross commission income for the year, and to watch them take that business and in a 5 or 6 year period grow it into a business that's doing over $2 million in gross commission income, I think, in 2018. Samantha, welcome to the call. We appreciate you giving your time to be on the call today.
Hi, Cleve. I'm very excited to be here.
Let's go right into our first step. I say that step 1 is creating a plan, and Samantha, you and Christy do that probably better than any team I've ever seen. So talk to us a little bit about what you do from a business planning standpoint.
Yeah, so every year, I think this is huge for any company. Every year we sit down and we work on our business plan. Every single team member actually creates their own plan, and then we developed a team one around that. We actually just turned in all of our plans for 2018 last week, and it just really gets everybody on board, ready to go for the next year.
Now, Samantha, that's got to be a bunch of baloney. Nobody really does business planning. They just talk about it. And I said that to be funny, but in reality, most people look at 2018 and they really don't write out a specific business plan. So talk to us a little bit about the process that you go through when you're doing business plans, and does everybody on your team legitimately know Bull have one?
So every single person on our team does have a business plan, our admin team and agents. And actually, it's funny because we just had this conversation with our team last Wednesday in that, you have the agents that are doing it for the first year, just like Christy and I did 5 years ago. It was the first time we ever actually did one pen to paper. And it's so stressful that first year, but every year it gets, I don't want to say it gets easier, but you get in a better routine of it, a better habit, and you look forward to it. But every single team member fills one out for our team, down to, how many units they want to close, how much commission they want to make, where they're going to get that business from, what their personal goals are. We want them to tie in personal and professional.
And how do you tie the individual team members' plans into the overall team plan, or do you do that? Do you just take the cumulative total of the individual's production and make a team plan? How does that work?
We do. So first we focus on the individuals. Of course, we want to know what each one of them wants to do on a unit perspective and a sales commission perspective. And then we take that and we put it all together, compile what the team's units will be. But we think a little bit further into that as far as, which we'll get into in a little bit, I think it's the 4 pillars of income, where everybody's going to get their business. So our buyers team, they have a particular area they want to focus on to get business. We map it out very detailed. Our listing team, and then Christy and I can compile the two and then see what's missing to make up for the team overall. That way it's made up from what everybody truly wants to do and not just what we think we want them to do.
So do you mind me asking you what your total team sales goal is for units next year? I'm just curious.
No, not at all. So we are actually wanting to do 400 units in 2018 and at least 3.5 million in sale volume.
Now, when you do 400 sales, do you get to keep the commission on all 400?
As a team?
I just had that because I'm sure there are people who are listening who think, oh my gosh, to have a goal to do 50 or 75 or 150 or 200 or 400, oh my gosh, there's no way I could ever do that. The first year you and Christy worked together, how many closings did you have together? And you were just her administrative assistant, and you were in your early 20s, you were young, you guys were learning together. But how many units did you guys close your first year together?
We didn't even hit 50 our first year together.
Didn't hit 50, and now you've got a goal for 400. I love that. Okay, talk to us about your keys to successful business planning.
So I think our keys, the biggest thing, we start immediately before we even get to the numbers, before we even get to any of that, is identifying your strengths and weaknesses. We want to know what your advantages are, what you do well, but we also want to know what areas you can improve in or just what you do badly. And what we should avoid. And then after that, we set a clearly defined goal and why we want to achieve them. When our team members come to me and they say, hey, I want to make 100,000 this year. Well, that's great, but why? I want to know your why. What's going to drive you so that we can get you there? And then mapping it out. If you want to make 100,000, that's great, but how many units is that? And what are you going to do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly to get to that 100,000? And then we take it from there. We implement with what we call Agile. It's like a master project sheet. We'll talk about it in a little bit, and then holding each other accountable for that.
So let's talk about a couple of these things in a little more detail. Why do you think it's important? And I think in the business plan workbook, which a little birdie told me might be one of the free gifts that anybody who's listening through the end of the call might be able to download. Why do you think it's important to identify your strengths and your weaknesses? Because most of the people I've met in the world, they only have strengths. They don't have any weaknesses, Samantha. So why do you think it's helpful to outline both? Well, that's what they want the world to think, right, Samantha?
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So the strengths, obviously, so that we can play off of those, what you're good at. I personally am better at the details being in the office. Christy's strength is out in the field with the clients, the relationships. So it's knowing what your strengths are to make sure you're doing what's best for you, but also your weaknesses. It's not just to say, oh, well, Samantha's, not good at relationships out in the field, or Christy's not good at the technology, to be criticizing ourselves, but it's to recognize where we're weak so that other team members can help us make up for that and other areas we can work on for growth ourselves.
And what I thought was interesting, I went to what was called a 7-figure ride-along where you and Christy bring other people in from around the country, and you sort of show exactly how your business is operated on a daily basis. And you guys were very open with, here's what I'm good at, here's what I'm not so good at. And as a team, you rallied around one another to sort of to capitalize on everybody's strengths and then to help compensate for the weaknesses. And I thought that was so cool. Talk a little bit about your why and why you think that's important. I hear a lot of people all the time say, I'm going to make 200,000 next year, or I'm going to lose 50 pounds, or I'm going to whatever. And in my opinion, they have a why problem. And it sounds like you guys have identified that as well. What's the big deal with the why?
So the why to us is what drives you. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, of course, we're competitive. We're an extremely competitive team, but it's, why are you doing this? And I'll break it down to a little bit smaller. We have a team member, Michelle. She's on the screen right here. She was a stay-at-home mom for, several years as her kids grew up. So when she came back to work, she started working for us. And one of her small whys, or, one of her goals is, she wanted to be able to put her kids through college, and she wanted to be able to put a pool in her backyard, and all of these little whys or big whys. I want to change things for my family, whatever it is. It's, I need to know what that is, and she needs to know what that is, so that when we do get in a rut, it's how we can get each other out of it and focusing on that end goal together.
I love it. I so love it. And even though some whys seem big and some whys seem small, like putting a kid through college might not be as important as, paying off your bills or whatever, but you make sure that they have the why before they move forward. Talk to us about what we're looking at here on this screen. Looks like her goal is to make 250,000, and it's been broken down to 60 units. But what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so what you're looking at right here is it ties into our business plan. You've got your business plan where immediately Michelle says, I want to do 250,000, my income on her side for that year. And then we say, okay, well, that's great, but what does that look like? So we take our company's average sale price, or in Michelle's case, she's been here long enough, we can calculate her average sale price, and we work it backwards. And we realized in order for her to get to 250,000, she needed to close 60 units to hit that goal. And so what we have on the screen is we take our MLS, and we take the averages of every single month the last 3 years, because as you know, January, February are slow, summer months are busier. And then it projects and tells her, if you want to close 60 in a year, according to the trends in your MLS, this is what you need to close each month to stay on target. January, you'll see she needed to close 3, but the summer months she needed to close 6, 6, 5. Just gives her really clear guidelines on what she should be doing each month according to, the rest of our MLS.
I love it. And then how do they come up? I know where they come up with the sales goal, because they come up with that from their income goal. But how do you determine the stretch goal and then the dream goal? And why do you have to have a stretch and a dream? Why is a sales goal not enough?
So we actually tell our team members to focus on the stretch goal. We have a goal, which is 60, but we tell her throughout the whole year, you focus on your stretch goal. That way we know you're going to hit your goal. And then if you hit your dream, it's just a bonus. We want them to not just stop at one goal. We don't want you to set 60 units in your head and that's it. It's, let's set that goal, but let's reach a little bit further ahead of that.
And what's amazing to me is 5 years ago, you and Christy together couldn't hit 60 goals. Now you've got one agent who is your lead buyer's agent, but one agent on your team you're pushing to hit 60 goals in the next year. I think that is so cool. You guys have a concept, and it is called 4 Pillars of Income, and I think this is genius. How does this work? I mean, are you really asking someone to create 4 different ways to earn the same income?
Absolutely. So this is probably, it's all important, but it's probably the most important critical part of this is, Michelle comes and says, I want to do 250,000 in commissions, and that means 60 units. Well, that's great. However, how are you going to get there? I'm a very detailed person, and so I want to know exactly what I need to be doing or what she needs to be doing to ensure that she hits that goal, because that's as big of a deal to me as it is her. So we map it out and say, let's focus on 4 different pillars. Don't want all your eggs in one basket. And then let's break it down so specific that in each pillar, we know exactly who you're reaching out to, what you're doing with them on a schedule. And then each quarter, our team personally, we sit down and we say, okay, quarter 1, let's focus on pillar number 1 and make it a habit. Then the next quarter, we're going to review. and then we're going to add pillar number 2 to it. You've already created that habit of pillar 1, so that by the end of the year, it's just become habit to work all 4 pillars and get your income from all places.
And how much time does it take you and Christy to work in supporting your agents to come up with these 4 pillars of income? And it sounds to me like at the beginning of the year you stagger them, start with pillar 1, add 2, 3, 4. But how much time do you spend with your agents on average working through this stuff?
We spend a lot of time. I mean, my primary purpose on this team is for agent development. And Christy, you know, we every single day, I mean, we're talking to the team in our morning huddles about what they're working on this day. Every week I meet with each agent one-on-one on an accountability, and we cover these things to see what's working and what's not, because at the beginning of the year she may have said pillar 1 is what I want to do, but we realized 3 months into the year, you know, we need to completely rebuild that. So it's a constant.
And when they're falling short or they're not on track, I know I talk to a lot of team leaders out there, and when people say they're going to do something and they don't, I hate to say the team leader sort of has the attitude of, well, you know, I'm just going to sort of write them off. They don't say that, but that's sort of the way they act. So what do you do when someone is falling short in one of their pillars? How do you get them back on track, or do you just say forget it and move on to something else?
We definitely sit down and talk. You know, we bring the team member in here, and usually on a weekly basis, I'm tracking our sales. I can see what each agent is doing. We celebrate, you know, every month, whoever has the highest number of sales. I can see who's struggling. And I pull out those pillars. I mean, we had an agent come to me one day and said, Samantha, I'm so busy, but I have nothing under contract. And I said, well, great. You know, let's pull out your, you know, your daily success habits. Let's pull out your My Perfect Week. Let's pull out your 4 pillars. And I can quickly say, hey, you had pillar number 2, internet leads. You told me you were going to do listing videos for Zillow. Have you done that yet? She's like, you know, I haven't done any of that. Okay, well, did you, you know, go invite your clients to our upcoming event? Well, no, I haven't done that. It's just a really good way for us to get them back on track when they feel so lost.
Hey, Bryant, with PNC, I want to bring you back in here. Have you ever heard of anything like creating 4 different pillars of income to reach one big goal?
Yes, in certain ways. Well, we built foundations as far as relationships with the real estate community. And right. when I built my business, mine was more of the main pillar was being out with the real estate agents and finding out what their needs were. Yep. And then the second pillar would be more of the past customer base that we have, to direct market and go from there. But the biggest thing in my business has always been with the realtors and giving them service and educating them on my end.
Which certainly makes sense. And if that's, you know, one of your 4 pillars moving forward, who knows how much your business might grow. So Samantha, it looks like this is a process you're using, taking, for example, geographic farming specifically, and helping your agent move forward with building their plan. And this is part of step 2, which is actually sticking to your goals, not creating the plan, but create the plan and then stick with the plan. Talk about this.
Yeah, so what you see right here on the screen is what we call our Agile. It's essentially a master project sheet. And, you know, it can be little projects with the company up to, you know, huge projects. And it's one place to compile all of the projects. And this is where we're going to bring everything to life. Like you just said, we have these plans. How can we bring them? So on one of the pillars, you'll see with direct marketing and geographic farming. Well, okay, again, that's great. But what are we going to do with geographic farming? What does that mean? And so we come over here, we put it on our Agile, and you'll see it's number 5 as geographic farm plan. And we rate them by level of importance within the company, 1,000 being the most important activity all the way, you know, and it goes down to 0. And once we put that on our sheet, then we create what's called a sprint inside our Agile. And it's like a to-do list to make that geographic farming plan come into life.
Love
and we're just going to map out everything.
And Samantha, I don't know if you remember this question, but we just had a question. I mean, I don't know if you remember this from your business planning, but we just had a question come in wanting to know what was pillar number 3 and 4 for Michelle. Do you remember?
Let me see here. Pillar number 3 for Michelle was, well, personal database was 1, internet leads was 2.
Okay.
And I believe pillar number 3 was open houses off the top of my head.
Okay, and that's not fair for us to do that to you. But it could be anything. It could be focusing on CRM. It could be the open houses. It could be community events. It could be pretty much anything. It could be billboards, radio show, television advertising. However, somebody wants to go through and generate business. So, Judy, sorry I couldn't get you all the answers to the 4 pillars, but hopefully that'll help you out. So, talk a little bit about this sprint and tell everybody what we're looking at. Again, step 2, sticking with the plan for business planning.
Yeah, so once you see, so we took the geographic farming from page 1 of our Agile, and this, what you see on the screen to the far left, is called a sprint. Inside that sprint, we're just going to map everything out that we need to do in order to bring geographic farming to life, which is down to the basics, picking the community, creating our plan, doing our budget, doing research, and then you'll see it just goes into everything else we need to do. And then we take that and we say, okay, well, we know we need to pull monthly website data, so we list out each month, assign a team member to that task. We know we're going to do a postcard for every month, so let's write that down, assign those tasks. Let's do our events, go ahead and map out each event for the year. And then our plan of action you'll see over on the far right, which is bringing all of this to life with budget, with expenses, so there's no surprises throughout this whole thing.
This is amazing to me, and we just had a question come in from Mike saying, is this a tool available for download? And Mike, we don't actually have the actual Agile system available for download. You will be able to get a full copy of today's presentation, which will show you an outline of the Agile. And if you wanted to reach out to Workman Success Systems, I'm sure we could actually get you. I assume, Samantha, you wouldn't mind if we shared the actual blank Agile form so somebody could start to try to use it. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, of course.
Good. So, Mike, if you'll reach out to Workman Success Systems, we'll get you hooked up. Let's talk about sticking with the plan. The last slide here, which is accountability equals love. I'm not so sure that everybody agrees with the definition of that accountability equals love, but talk to us about that.
Yeah, it took me a while, I think, to grasp this concept, because immediately we think of accountability almost as a negative, as a nagging, that mom that just constantly on their kid to make their bed or pick up their shoes. And for me, I'm a little bit kinder of a personality, I guess, a little bit softer typically. So that was hard for me to grasp. So, but to look at it as accountability is love. I want these agents to succeed. Christy wants them to succeed. So it's, all of these things, it's not just because I want to look at pillars every day and all these activities. It's we want to help them. So we've got to put in systems for it, which is, daily success habits. Our agents fill out a sheet every single day. They have to hit 61 points a day, and they do that by various activities. They're prospecting, their note cards to clients, their closings, they're on and on. And then I'm able to sit down and do a weekly one-on-one accountability with each agent where we go through, again, everything they did daily. We look at their 4 pillars, which one they're focusing on. We look at what their leads look like. How many leads do they have in the pipeline? Are they working those leads as effectively as they can? How can I help them if they're not? And then what you see here in the middle of the screen is our quarterly reviews. So every quarter we sit with each agent individually, probably spend a good hour together, and we cover the exact same thing every quarter. Where they're at with leads, how many transactions they've had, where they're at on their pillars, where can we improve next year, what their goal is, and then we set some activities and we hold each other accountable for those activities.
Which is amazing when you think about it. And I heard Verl Workman one time sort of equate it to, if your kid runs out in the street, you tell them not to do that, and you offer them some constructive criticism on why they shouldn't do that, and maybe even what might happen if they run out into the street again. But you don't not tell them the next time it happens. The next time it happens, you tell them all over, just like you did the first time it happened. And that's really what you guys have turned accountability in from a team standpoint. Hey, here's the things that you need to do in order to move forward with business. And Samantha, does everybody always do everything they're supposed to in terms of moving forward, or do they fall short quite often?
Oh, goodness. I don't think any of us do. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't do everything I'm supposed to do every single day. And I think it's these daily huddles that we do with our team. It just brings us all back together and says, okay, look, I know we didn't achieve this yesterday, but how can we make it better today? It's progress, not perfection. It's how we look at it every single day.
which is huge. And really, every single week, you're sort of judging everything that's happening in your business. Samantha, I wish I could keep you on today for like 3 hours because we could continue to cover just great stuff. If anybody has any questions, you can certainly reach out to us after the call. I'll make sure you know how to get in touch with Workman Success Systems, and we can follow up and give you whatever tools you need, because Samantha, you have covered a ton of great stuff. Thank you so very much. Hey, I'm pleased to introduce Mike Koch, who is team leader with Terra Firma Realty in Wisconsin, outside of the Madison area, if I understand correctly. He's also a coach with Workman Success Systems, has about 20 years of experience in real estate, and been involved in about 2,500 transactions. Used to do just lakefront real estate, and he started reinventing himself in just the regular old residential resale market. And Mike, it's been interesting to watch you grow over the last couple of years. Welcome to the call.
Thanks a lot for having me, Cleve. I'm excited to be here.
So in continuing on with our themes of the day, our steps of the day, step 3, we're talking about using a theme to keep people motivated. What in the heck are you talking about there?
Well, like you said, we want to create some themes, keep people motivated, and put some initiatives forward for people in their 2018 business plan. So we got a couple different themes that we like to play with, and the first one's going to be the reward theme. That's over on the left-hand side. And a reward theme could be any length that you choose. Just set a goal date, a target metric, and establish a reward that motivates your team. Rewards could be something simple like business apparel, swag for a short-term goal. Maybe a company paid date night for the employee and their significant other. For bigger targets, maybe some annual targets with some bigger rewards. Maybe you're looking at annual dues, maybe a higher percentage of the incoming leads, a cash bonus, or some kind of a reward trip. Right there on the left-hand side, some people might say, well, gosh, they spelt Maui wrong. Well, we didn't spell Maui wrong. We actually turned the one I into two I, so it aligned with the $11 million goal that we had in that particular year. But if you set a long-term goal, be sure to set shorter milestones to keep everyone motivated. This year, right now, for the last month of the year, our team is focusing on money-making activities so that we can stay focused on consistent, productive activities during the holidays when others are shutting it down for the end of the year.
Which is so true. Most people, unfortunately, a lot of people in our market start mentally shutting down like September. I'm embarrassed to say that. And so when you're really kind of doubling down in your prospecting and lead generation and conversion activities this time of year, what kind of results are you seeing?
Well, we have people, I have a coaching client who's doubling down right now, and he's really hitting the phones hard, and he sends me a text saying, hey, I've made more calls in the last 2 weeks than I've made in the last couple months. I've got one agent who prefers a text and use email versus the phone, and now she's making more phone calls every day than she'd previously made in a week.
And what kind of results are they finding? I mean, are they making business happen, or are they moving things forward, or are they just leaving a bunch of voicemails?
No, business is moving forward. The appointments are up, and obviously from the appointments being up, the contracts are up too. So our goal has been to finish the year strong, and whatever we put on paper this month is going to close in January. So they're going to be able to springboard and leverage the month of December to really start a 2018 strong. So it's definitely having an impact.
And is there like a secret script you're using when you're making these calls, or I mean, what are your people saying when they make these calls and stir the pot in the right before Christmas?
Well, with the holidays being here, it's a great time to catch up and just create some casual conversation on the personal side of things with how was their Thanksgiving, what do they have coming up for Christmas, and then just touching base with them, letting you know that you're not dropping the ball on their property search, see if there's anything that you can do to help them out, and if they're still on target for purchasing something at the end of this year or in the first quarter of next year.
Love it. Love it. Talk to us about The Greatest Salesman in the World. I assume that book's there for a purpose?
Yeah, the book's there for a purpose, Cleve, because that ties into our teaching themes. And when you teach principles of strategy to grow your business, it can certainly have a long-term effect. Themes can stick with your team for a long time and inspire them to do even greater results. An analogy that comes to mind for me on a teaching theme is give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. Probably all of us have heard this proverb before, but I want to, think about that one for a minute. If you apply that to our industry and you're just given leads, what will you do with them? But if I can teach you when to respond to them, how to qualify them, how to rate them, when to follow up with them, and how to convert them, what would that do for their business? So The Greatest Salesman in the World is a great book. It's written by Og Mandino, and it's a very fast read business book that's amazingly impactful for all of us real estate agents and even the team leaders that might be on this call. There's 10 scrolls within the book. Each scroll can be used as a monthly concept to have a positive impact on their business. And we're actually going to use this as our theme for 2018. We're gonna teach right out of this.
So do you like review it in your weekly meetings, or I mean, how do you use it specifically? Pick one per month?
Well, we're going to pick one per month, and then every team meeting we're going to go through it one by one. What I had set aside for today's phone call is I just wanted to share a little bit about creating new habits. You know, scroll number 1 talks about beginning a new life, shedding that old skin, and creating new habits. And Cleve, do we have a minute or two that I could just read a little bit from the book for the audience here?
Sure, absolutely. I'd love it.
Okay. So the scroll number 1 talks about building these habits, and it says, "Today I shed my old skin, which hath too long suffered the bruises of failure and the wounds of mediocrity. Today I'm born anew, and my birthplace is a vineyard where there is fruit for all. Today I will pluck grapes of wisdom from the tallest and fullest vines in the vineyard, for these were planted by the wisest of my profession and who have come before me, generation upon generation." It goes on to talk about the career path, and I think this really applies to real estate, and it says, "The career I've chosen is laden with opportunity, yet is fraught with heartbreak and despair. And the bodies of those who have failed before me, or piled one atop another, would cast a shadow down upon all the pyramids of the earth. Yet I will not fail as the others, for in my hands I now hold the charts which will guide me through perilous waters to shores which only yesterday seemed like a dream." So he goes on to talking about shedding that old skin, creating a new life, and creating new habits. And that will certainly lead us to the next scroll, or the next slide you have there.
Oops. There we go. So now let me ask you, sometimes when people read motivational stuff, sort of, it sounds like historical scrolls, a fable, a lot of people think, well, that's kind of goofy. Nobody really gets motivated by that. And I thought that when I first was exposed to the greatest salesman in the world. But as you have used it, or as you've read the scrolls yourself, how have those helped you in your business? Like legitimately, no baloney.
Well, as a team leader, it's really helped me with my habits. For me, my habits are about helping my team, helping my individual agents grow as an individual and become better. For me, it's about recruiting, and I am still in production a little bit, but it's helped me focus on those daily activities that I need to be doing rather than some of that fake work that we can all get caught up in doing.
Understood. Got a comment from Frank, says, "When you teach a man how to fish, they will want to buy a boat." And I was just mentioning that because you could also sell them a lake house if they want to buy a boat, right? Right, Mike?
Absolutely. Come on up to Wisconsin, buy a lake house. I'll show you all the hot spots.
Talk to us about the daily success habits. Samantha mentioned this earlier for those of you who wanted to see what a daily success habit sheet looks like. And then also your My Perfect Week, which you have here on the right. Talk to us about both of these.
So these are 2 tools that we call our success tools. They help us stay focused on the activities that we need to be doing on a daily basis. The daily success habit tracker on the left-hand side really has a couple components to it. On the left-hand side, we track all the activity that we do throughout the day in a half-hour increment. Then in the middle, we have our points for our money-making activities. These are the things that an agent should be doing throughout the day for them to hit their goals of, maybe a certain number of unit sales in a year, a certain number of GCI. These are money-making activities, and the stronger the activity, such as an appointment, the higher the point reward. A closing is going to have, 15 points associated with that versus a phone call is going to have 1 point. So at the end of the day, we want to achieve 61 points of rhythm before we go home. If we got an agent who it's 4:30 and they're at 50 points, stay in the office another hour, crank out another 11 points, make another 11 phone calls, or do one more thing. Over on the right-hand side is our prospecting time. We want to make sure that our agents are prospecting on a daily basis, at least 2 hours. Whether it's in the morning, the afternoon, they can track their prospecting time, and then they can take their daily success habit tracker and compare the activities that they're doing on the left-hand side to their perfect week. Now, their perfect week, Cleve, is something that each agent builds on their own. This is going to be the week that they want to design, the week that they want in their life that's going to include both their personal and their professional tasks. So if they got a date night every Wednesday night, put it on your perfect week. If you work out every morning, put it on your perfect week. But make sure that you also build in there the big rocks for your business, which are going to be prospecting, working your sphere of influence, top 50 and some self-improvement too.
And so when you're teaching agents, you don't have a problem if there's some blank space on here so they can have some me time. Sounds to me like you're really just trying to figure out how to get them to go ahead and prioritize the, showing activities and the prospecting activities so they don't miss over those. It's amazing how many agents I've talked to over the years who don't seem to have enough business, and yet they spend no time prospecting every week and no time out showing houses. It seems to me like they would be able to figure out easily why they didn't have any business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a guide. If you find yourself jumping on Facebook and getting distracted for 5 minutes, then jumping back off, you've got out of your routine. So if you need to be reminded of what should I be doing, it's 10 a.m., you can look at your perfect week and get back on track.
Love it. Talk to us a little bit about remembering it's not the system, and this moves us into step number 4. So step number 3 was use a theme to keep people motivated. Pick a theme and stick with it during the year, and sounds like you're going to do that. Step number 4, remember it's not the system, it's the application of the system that's the key. So you've got a client relationship management software up here. Talk to us. What are you going to be doing with your CRM in 2018?
Well, there's so many things that you can do with a really good CRM. You can take that CRM, and first I want to say that I know, Cleve, that you've given entire presentations on using leverage in your business, whether it's an admin to support you or leveraging a showing assistant when you become too busy to handle all your showings. To us, the CRM is just another tool that we can leverage to manage and grow our business. We can use it to nurture, track, and set follow-up for your leads. This is really important because most people, or a lot of people, when they get a lead that comes in, they write it down on a little Post-it note. Maybe they call them back, maybe they don't. Oh, you know what, it's 4 o'clock, I'm gonna leave today, I'm gonna call them back tomorrow. They stick the Post-it note somewhere and it gets lost. I have a coaching client of mine that I just started with, and one of the first things that we're doing is building a CRM into her business. And she told me that she feels that she's lost $20 million of business because she has forgotten to follow up with people. Well, a good CRM, you should be able to set those follow-up for those leads.
And what's so interesting is you mentioned, hey, I'll do that tomorrow. And so many people don't think it's a big deal to put everything into a CRM and to categorize them correctly and to schedule the next follow-up. But in my opinion, it's one of the most important things you can possibly do in real estate. We just got a question from Michelle asking what's a good CRM, and I don't know that we're going to recommend CRMs on today's call. What you were looking at was Top Producer, which is probably the gorilla in the room or the elephant in the room when it comes to real estate, and so that might be a good place to start. Talk to us about your sphere of influence and working the Top 50 program.
Well, this is one of those things that could fall into a pillar of income that Samantha talked about earlier. And, that was one of our themes too, is you could work with strategic themes to use something like the pillars of income. The sphere of influence is huge because so many agents spend so much money trying to engage complete strangers, maybe through portal leads, Google pay-per-click, Facebook ads, and trying to connect with them to make the biggest decision in their life. Yet so few spend the time and money on leveraging those that they already know, love, and trust. So, the sphere is most likely to respect your personal family time. They're least likely to negotiate with you on commission, and they're going to be your cheapest and most loyal lead source. So for us, it's important that we use our sphere of influence to grow our business, but also that we use that CRM to manage our sphere of influence. Our sphere of influence, you should be reaching out to them no less than on a quarterly basis. And then we take the cream of the crop of that sphere of influence. Maybe you got 200, 300, 400 people in your sphere of influence, and we narrow that down to who our top 50 is. That's kind of the cream. Those are the folks that are most likely to refer you business, and we want to engage them at least monthly, once a month, with meaningful conversation. Hopefully that's a face-to-face contact. It can be on the golf course, it could be for a cup of coffee, maybe a cocktail after work, but we want to get belly to belly with them. At the very least, Cleve, we want to call these people and have a meaningful conversation with them at least once a month. We want to engage them in some client events, maybe some pop buys. There's a couple examples of a few things that we've done, egging around the Easter time, and the families and the kids have absolutely loved it. A pie day, pictures with Santa. Those are actually the pictures with Santa, and the pie day are actually from the Christy Buck team. But we've done similar things to that to really engage the sphere of influence and those people in our top 50 and teach them how to refer us business so that we got business coming to us instead of us chasing it.
And really, when you're egging somebody, and I know for some people watching, it might be, well, that's kind of corny, but I mean, what you're doing is you're doing something that's nice and selfless, not selfish for your prospects, and it can never hurt to have communication with your prospects, your clients, your sphere of influence when you're being selfless and trying to do something good for them. I love it. I love it. Okay, let's talk. Step number 5 is to message to create buyers and sellers. What in the world do we mean by this? I saw a survey, pardon me, I saw a survey earlier today that says 2018, more people feel positive about selling a home in 2018 than they have for the last 5 to 6 to 7 years, really all the way back to 2008, honestly. So what is a boomerang buyer, and what the heck are you talking about here?
Sounds like a buyer from Australia, right?
Right.
It's a boomerang buyer, and there's a little definition right there, but it's a former homeowner who has gone through a short sale, foreclosure, or bankruptcy in the last few years and has been saving for a down payment in preparation of the expiration of their waiting period, that time in which they can no longer qualify for a mortgage. So once they've now qualified for a mortgage, they lost their home, maybe they lost their home back in 2010, and they have now qualified to go back out and achieve a mortgage again.
Wow, and I would assume there's a lot of people out there who don't even know what the qualifications are. Let me bring Bryant back in for just a second. Bryant, how many people do you guys work with who were sort of pushed out of the housing market from 2008 to 2012, but now they've gotten themselves in a position where they can jump back in the market?
That's a very good question. So there are plenty of people that are in that situation. What we do is we educate them. And one of the questions is we try to figure out what their goal is as far as when they're looking to purchase a home. So right. Whether they have some issues, whether it be some credit issues or some income issues, or just in general some debt issues, we try to educate them what they have to do to get in the right position. Which is great for a realtor because we're really doing the first steps first. What I see a lot is a lot of realtors take people out, look at houses, and then find out the client can't buy a home. So they wasted hours and weekends spending time with unqualified buyers.
Amazing, amazing. And do you work with people, Bryant, who really don't think they can buy now, and once you take an application or answer a few questions for them, they realize they can qualify? They're past whatever waiting periods?
Yes, we do a very in-depth analysis, and everybody else there's no same application. Nothing's vanilla in our business. So whether he's being self-employed or W-2, nothing's cut and dry anymore like it used to be. It's very analytical. So with that being said, we try to prepare the customer from the first consultation to closing all the way through.
Love it. Hey, Mike, talk to us about some of these percentages. I know you've got all these statistics on here for a reason. Tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah, so the one thing I want to share with everybody is the significance of this group. There were over 7 million people that lost their home to foreclosure, and there's NAR released a stat earlier this year that approximately 1 million of them had restored their credit and were ready to re-enter the market. 2017 saw another 500,000.
Wait a second now. You're saying 1 million buyers have restored their credit and come back into the market. We're only talking about a market in the U.S. of 5.8 to 6 million houses, so that's a huge number.
Yeah, and there was another 500,000 added in 2017, and another 400,000 should qualify in 2018. So we're talking about, by the end of this year, almost 2 million buyers that are now qualified. Yet so far, only about 15 to 18% of them have re-entered the market.
Wow. Wow. So we got a question from Mike asking what and how do you identify boomerang buyers? And I sort of laughed when I got the question because yesterday, Mike Koch, you reached out to me and said, hey, I know I'm going to get this question. How do you identify people? And if you don't mind, I'm going to take that one for just a second. And I don't know that there are any list you could buy to say, hey, this person went through a short sale or a bankruptcy or a foreclosure. I think some of that data, when it comes to the mortgage, is private between the mortgage company and the borrower. borrower. But long story short, I think what we're talking about is having some marketing, and this is for Mike, the attendee, not the panelist, but having some marketing that speaks to people who might not know they can get back in the market. So, if you had a chart, for example, like this one here to the right that showed what the waiting periods were prior guidelines from Fannie Mae, what they are new and what they are in FHA, I'm pretty sure, and I didn't put these numbers together, so I can't verify that they're accurate, but if somebody did a short sale in 2013 or 14, they might very well think they can't get back into the market. Certainly not now, and before they had to wait 4 years. Now for a Fannie loan, they only have to wait 2 years, and for an FHA loan, they only have to wait 1 year. And I'm sure there is other circumstances out there, but it's such an amazing thing to be able to let people who want to get back in the market be able to know, to be able to know. Mike is asking another question: is this chart true for conventional loans as well? So I think the column that says new Fannie Mae minimum, that would be for a conventional conforming loan, and then the one on the right would be for an FHA loan. Mike, any other thoughts you want to share with us on this slide?
I think it's just really a powerful segment group that we all need to make sure that we build it into our marketing plan in 2018. These buyers, they're going to have more money than they did back then. They've been saving for years for a down payment. Most of them think it's 7 to 10 years, but it could have been just a few years ago that they had that derogatory event. Most of them have better jobs. They have more money down, and their debt is going to be lower. So it's a really important segment that I think everybody should build into their marketing events.
And really, I like to say that's messaging for creating sellers and buyers. I want to go in and talk just a little bit more, if you don't mind, Brian. I'd like to circle back around, and let's talk about that home insight planner. When you first showed this to me, I thought, oh my gosh, this is genius, because even though we can't demonstrate it on the webinar today, it really digs into the details of the total overall cost of ownership, as you said before, even down to the cost of gas. And a buyer who's uncertain about whether or not they can buy, maybe referring them to something like this can help them figure out exactly how much money they need to bring to closing, how much the cost will be over time. Is that how you're using this for buyer prospects, for prospective borrowers?
Yeah, so this Insight Planner is really good for the first-time home buyer, as well as somebody who's looking to upgrade to buy a newer and bigger home. The reason why I like this is you could put your income in, you could put in actually the state tax, local tax, and federal tax. You can figure out if you change your dependents, as well as the biggest thing is how do you want to live, dinner, going out to the movies, so on and so on. So this product that PNC made is very, very hands-on, very simple to use, and it's a great product that a lot of my customers are starting to use.
I love it. And there are so many buyers out there who literally don't have any idea whether or not they are able to purchase a home. And it could be that they go through the steps of this Home Insight Planner and they realize that they're not able to purchase a home right now. But it could be that they start the steps for moving forward sometime in the future. Hey, Bryant, do you have any experience with VA loans or USDA loans?
Yes, I do a lot of VA loans. USDA loans, no, not too popular in New York, but VA loans, yes.
Yeah, that's true. I would assume there's not too many rural areas in Long Island, right?
No.
So do you know what, and maybe you can quote this on air, maybe you can't, do you know what the waiting periods are for 100% VA loans after a short sale or bankruptcy or a deed in lieu of foreclosure?
It's usually 2 years, and it's circumstantial.
Got it. So,
but VA loans are more lenient, and it depends on, there's a lot of moving factors, whether that's income and the reason why. If it's extenuating circumstances, we could do a loan today for a veteran. Veteran loans are the easiest loans to get because the government really wants to help out the guys who served. The one thing I'll leave you with on my side, which the real estate community, which is the biggest thing, is whether myself or others, it's very important for a real estate agent to align themselves with a top loan officer. And what I mean by that is you got to make sure that it's the realtor's commission and all that hard work. And then at the end of the day, if the customer walks into a local bank and you don't know that loan officer and you're not getting communication, 90% of these guys really don't know how to structure and put a loan together. So it's really important to use somebody that has the experience and the know-how on how to structure loans to make sure that loan closes. I could tell you we probably get 3 to 4 loans a month where the customer went elsewhere and we would have to figure it out and get it closed. And it's not the bank, it's the person structuring the loan. So if I leave anybody with a message at the end of this call is, more importantly, make sure that you align yourself with a good loan officer that you could trust, that you could hold accountable to make sure that your deals close smoothly and close on time.
Love it. We got a question from Mike again, not Mike Koch, but Mike, an attendee, wanting to know if the Home Insight Planner is a tool available for agents to be able to share with buyers, and if so, where does he find it?
Yes, it's pnc.com/planner.
Okay.
And it'll bring a link right up.
Okay. pnc.com/planner. Maureen, I know you asked the question about USDA loans. We'll see if we can maybe get you an answer and send it out to everybody as well, because I don't know what the waiting periods are for the USDA loans. So in closing, and I want to talk about this in hold on just a minute here. We were getting ready to go and ask for questions, and we've got question here. Any tips for working with high-end second home beachfront buyers? Does anybody have any tips for working with high-end second home buyers at the beach? I know, Mike, a lot of your market is not at the beach, but it's second home buyers on the lake. Any tips for this attendee?
Well, I'm not quite sure what she was looking to get out of that question, so I'd need a little bit more detail on that. But a lot of times that marketplace is going to be from out of the market, so you're going to need to make sure that you can do your research on the lakes or in the areas at the beach, find out where the clientele is coming from. You can pull that by tax records or working with a title company. Once you have that information, you need to be able to target them wherever they're at. Online, the internet is going to be the easiest way to do that. Certainly Facebook has a lot of interest groups that you can target based on the interest that that individual has. Without having a little bit more information of what she's looking to dial into, I'm not sure how much more I can help with that question.
So her name is Mary Lou. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And she says they're impulse buyers and we know where they live. I guess maybe she's just looking for some tips to marketing to them, but sounds to me like you might have kind of covered that already.
Yeah, and she can certainly, if there's a way that she could reach out to me, I'd welcome her call, Cleve, if we've got a way to get that information out to her.
Perfect. I'll make sure that we put a phone number up there for her. In fact, if you want to, you can give out your phone number right now. I don't care.
Yeah. All right. Mary, it's 608-846-5253.
Give that one more time.
608-846-5253.
Cool. So Mary Lou, hopefully that'll help you. Sue says, where do I find the screenshots? You'll be able to get the entire presentation. You'll be able to go download it after the call is over, and I'll show you exactly where to do that. And then Nathan says he'd love to get the spreadsheets. And Nathan, if you'll reach out to us directly, go online, download everything, and then go back in and send us a note. We'll make sure and get you the spreadsheets that you can use, the agile, the business planning, and all of that. As a reminder, the steps in successful business planning: create a plan, stick with the plan. And I know, Samantha, you really hit it home that you guys continue to talk about the same stuff over and over all year long. And I think that's amazing. Mike talked about using a theme to keep people motivated. He also talked about that it's not the system, but it's the application of the system that's really the key. And then we talked about using messaging specifically to create sellers and buyers as well. We've had lots of questions that have come in during today's webinar, and hopefully we've gotten them all answered. If not, you can reach back out to us. But for a copy of today's presentation and your free bonus gifts, you can just go to workmansuccess.com/DECRIS, workmansuccess.com/DECRIS. We're going to give you some really cool free gifts. Number one, we're going to provide you with a 7-day indoctrination email series. If you ever get an online lead and you have a hard time getting somebody to respond to you, the 7-day indoctrination email series could be just what the doctor ordered. Going to give away the ABCs of lead management, which teach you how to categorize leads based on B, buying in the next 90 days, C, buying in more than 90 days, and it teaches you a follow-up plan for following up with each one of those. We're going to also give you a fillable PDF file of the Workman Success Systems Business Plan Workbook. We're going to also give you a link to the 7-figure ride-along information that I mentioned earlier, which just talks about all the systems and things you need to do in order to manage your business from an operations standpoint and move your business forward. And then, thanks to Bryant, we've got a Buying Your First Home brochure that will be sent to you. I have read this, and there is so much great information in this Buying Your First Home brochure from PNC Mortgage. Bryant, we appreciate you supplying that, and that's going to be available for you as a free download as well. Both Samantha's team and Mike Koch's team actually work with Workman Success Systems from a coaching standpoint. Workman Success Systems coaches, for the most part, some of the biggest teams in the United States, and we don't coach everybody. We're not right for everybody, but if you log in to download the information and you'd like to explore whether or not a coaching relationship with Workman Success Systems would work, you'll certainly have the opportunity to do that. Got a couple quick questions coming in here. The website again is workmansuccess.com/DECRIS, workmansuccess.com/DECRIS. Let's see here. They all are coming in. David, you wanted the egged poster, so you can borrow it. I think you mean steal it from Mike Koch, which I think he would be honored if you did that. And you'll be able to download a full copy of the presentation when you go to the link. A full copy of the presentation we gave today is here. And somebody's asking, what's Brian's number? I think maybe she might mean Mike Koch's number. Mike, would you give your number out one more time?
It's 608-846-5253.
Oh, and it just dawned on me. No, she doesn't mean Mike Koch. She means Bryant's number. Hey, Bryant, would you give out your contact information, please, sir?
Sure. My team line is 516-222-3216.
One more time, if you don't mind, Bryant.
516-222-3216. And I was just going to say, Cleve, and I could actually originate in all 50 states. So if anybody on this call does need a good loan rep, my team and I could definitely help service them.
Fantastic. And when you download the presentation, the second slide has all of Bryant's contact information so you could reach out to him. Bryant, thank you so much for your wealth of information. Samantha, same thing. Mike Koch, I appreciate all of you investing your time to help other people throughout the United States be more successful in real estate in 2018. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great 2018, everyone.